Okay, so now let's look at an overview of part two. So the part two is your ability to drive. It's a driving ability test, and basically it's you showing the theory you've done in your part one that you can put it into practice. Because if you can demonstrate something, which is what you're doing here, you're demonstrating your knowledge, then you have a deep understanding of that knowledge rather than just knowing, oh, I know that. Really knowing something is to be able to demonstrate it. So that's the idea of the part two, is to show that you really understand and what you're going to teach your pupils. It used to be very, very fixed in you can do this, you've got to do this, you've got to follow the essential skills letter by letter, etc. It's not as like that as much anymore. It's a little bit more flexible on that. But you've got to show a general understanding of the rules, and you've got to know the difference between must nots and do nots and can nots and so on, because they mean different things. And again, as you go through the course, we explain that in a lot of detail. But don't worry about it. Don't worry about your habits. Some people have got habits of one-handed or putting the handbrake on or not putting the handbrake on, quite common. Not a problem. It doesn't matter how you do most things as long as they work. There are certain things you do need to do, but of course we'll talk you all the way through that. I suppose the way to think about it is it's not an advanced out test, but it is in some ways. And what I mean by that is you have to drive within the rules, but you have to drive in what they call a business-like fashion or as an experienced driver. So if there's a gap, you go for it. If there's two lanes on approach to something and the right lane is a shorter queue, use it as long as it's going where you want to go. A lot of people, as humans, we're really good at queuing up, and you see it on the road when you start looking for people. I did it the other day, unfortunately, I didn't have a camera going, but there was a queue of about a mile, and I'm not exaggerating, but the middle lane was also going in the same direction. No one used it, so I used it. People don't look at signs and just don't look to see there's another alternative. Because everyone's doing one thing, they don't look to see there's an alternative way of doing it. So in the post office, you'll find people join the longest queue, not the shortest queue. It's a bizarre thing as us humans, and you'll learn all about how our brains work when you do the course as well. But that's relevant. So it's about looking for things, it's about planning for things. So the thing I suppose you'll work on more with the part two is looking and planning and seeing more things than you possibly do now, not really working on your physical driving as in gear changing and stuff. There's a little element of that, but mainly your processes, your brain processes, your thinking processes. So saying that, I tend to call it advanced thinking as opposed to advanced driving, because when your bum's in the instructor seat, you've got to be planning ahead, you've got to be thinking ahead, otherwise you're not going to be ahead of the game and you're going to get caught out by things that happen. By the time you see something, tell the people, they ignore you, tell them again, they ignore you, didn't, you take control. That process has to start early. So the thinking, the planning part is the biggest part to this. So a good way to think about it, a little bit crude, but it works, is that you need to get on with it. You need to be driving in a business-like fashion, as I say, and you're not going to be taught to drive like a learner, push, pull, steering, all that sort of stuff. You're going to use the skills you've already got. You've got to get from A to B in the quickest possible time, but without breaking laws or rules. So the way I would think about it, and that's called making progress. The way I would think about it is that you're being followed by the police, but you're bursting for the toilet, and that way you're going to crack on, but you're not going to break any laws or rules. So the part one's about the laws and rules. Part two is about how to implement those laws and rules using planning and thinking, so you can get to places, say quickish, but without speeding. But if good planning, the only way you're going to do that is by good planning, using the correct lanes, reading the traffic lights and reading roundabouts well, and then you can make more progress. You're not stuck when you don't need to be stuck. It can be an interesting process, and it can actually be quite good fun, and we'll make it as fun as possible we can for you.